Olive is an ostrich. She lives with her family in the outback. But Olive is very different. Olive's dad loves to run. Olive isn't a fast runner. Olive's mum enjoys laying huge eggs. Olive doesn't like the look of that at all. Olive's little brother pecks at the ground to find tasty roots to eat. Pecking at the ground makes Olive sneeze. But Olive has an incredible imagination. So while the rest of her family are running, pecking and laying eggs, Olive can be found imagining herself going on amazing adventures when she buries her head down, down into the sand. Until she popped up somewhere new.
Ooh.
Olive was standing in a huge room with large pictures on the walls and big, oddly shaped objects all over the place.
Oh, what a colourful place!
Suddenly, Olive heard a voice.
Where did I put them?
One of the objects began to move. It was a seagull. It wore a beret and was waving around a paintbrush. Olive jumped.
I didn't notice you back there. I'm Olive.
Greetings. I'm Vincent van Gogh, famous artist and sculptor. This is my gallery, and these are my paintings and sculptures. You like them, yes?
Oh, they're fantastic!
Exclaimed Olive.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very talented, it's true. But I just need to paint one more painting on this blank canvas for my big exhibition. Problem is, I can't find my tubes of paint. God!
Then Olive noticed something shining on one of the sculptures.
A telescope? I think I may have an idea.
Olive looked through the telescope for clues, and on the floor she spotted some drips of paint. She followed the trail of paint over to a sculpture of a man having a good old think.
Here's one,
said Olive, throwing it down to Vincent.
My green paint!
Here's another.
My yellow paint.
Olive continued to follow the trail, finding Vincent's tubes of paint in all sorts of interesting places. She found Vincent's blue paint, his orange paint, and his purple paint. Vincent was very pleased.
Oh, yes, I must have left my paints in my great works of art as I was creating them. Well spotted, Olive. You have the eye of a great artist.
Thanks very much.
But where is my lucky color? Red.
Hey, I think I see it.
Olive had spotted it at the very top of the tallest sculpture in the room.
How are we going to reach that?
Don't worry, Vincent. I'll get it.
Olive jumped up on the sculpture and started to climb. She reached out and just managed to knock the paint down to Vincent.
Oh, well done, Olive.
He exclaimed.
Now I have all my paints.
As Olive cheered,
Yay!
she lost her balance.
Look out!
Olive landed on top of Vincent, who dropped his tubes of paint, which squirted all over Olive as they hit the ground. Cried Olive as she stumbled backwards, covered in paint, and fell onto the blank canvas.
Oh, no. Are you all right, Olive?
I'm okay, but I think I've ruined your canvas.
But when Olive pulled herself away from the canvas, on it was an amazing multicoloured painting of Olive.
It's spectacular!
Exclaimed Vincent.
It's a masterpiece, the best in my big exhibition.
Hey, I've always wanted to be in a painting.
Giggled Olive. They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I had a painting in an art exhibition.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
Olive was inside a big cave with leafy bushes at the entrance.
Yes, this will be a masterpiece,
said a voice. Olive turned to see a bearded caveman who was painting on the wall of the cave.
Hello there, I'm Olive. I love your painting.
Ah, well, everyone does. My name is Pablo Picasso, and I'm the world's greatest cave painter. But there is a problem with this painting, Olive.
Oh, what's that then?
Asked Olive.
There's one animal missing. It should go here.
Oh, which animal would that be, Pablo?
The magnificent saber-toothed tiger.
Pablo held up his sketchbook.
You see, I go out and sketch the animals first in my sketchbook. They all stand still long enough, except the saber-toothed tiger. He's so shy, he always runs off before I can finish.
That's a shame.
Ah, my painting will never be finished.
Then Pablo's daughter walked in with his breakfast.
Ah, here's my daughter Aga. Is that breakfast?
It is. Wheatie Pops and mammoth milk, Daddy.
Oh, you know I'm allergic to mammoth milk.
Oops, sorry, I forgot.
As Pablo sneezed, he dropped his breakfast, leaving a puddle of milk on the ground outside the cave.
A breakfast I can't eat, an animal I can't paint. It's all too much.
Olive spotted the bushes at the entrance to the cave.
Some leafy bushes, a nervous saber-toothed tiger. I think I may have an idea. Pablo, can you collect some twigs and leaves off those bushes, please?
Well, I suppose so.
Then Olive and Pablo quickly stuck the twigs and leaves all over themselves.
Now, the saber-toothed tiger might be shy, but since we're camouflaged as bushes, he won't even know we're there.
Excellent plan, Olive. Now I'll be able to sketch him.
There was a problem, though. Their bush disguises were so bushy, they couldn't see where they were going.
Ouch!
Hey, sorry.
So they went round and round in circles and ended up back at the cave.
Oh, it looks like I'll never paint the saber-toothed tiger and complete my masterpiece.
Then Olive heard a gentle lapping sound.
Look, it's a saber-toothed tiger. He's drinking that mammoth milk you threw out.
Pablo looked very excited.
All right, Olive, let's get painting. Yellow, please, Olive, for the fur.
Yeah.
And now black for the stripes.
Ooh.
And finally, white for his saber tooth.
Here you go.
Finished! And it's perfect!
Declared Pablo, a little too loudly.
Pablo, shh.
But it was too late. The tiger had heard them.
Oh, what are we going to do, Olive?
Olive had to think quickly. She pointed to the new painting on the wall, and the tiger suddenly gave a loud and contented purr.
Yes, you love your portrait, don't you?
Oh, Daddy, he's so cute. Please, can we keep him?
Definitely not. It's not just mammoth milk I'm allergic to. It's saber-toothed tigers as well. Oh, okay. Oh, he is rather sweet, I suppose. Maybe we can keep him for a bit.
I think he likes you as much as his painting.
Chuckled Olive. They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
But Gek, actually, I helped a caveman finish his painting.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
Olive was in a room full of lots and lots of colourful clothes hanging on long rails.
Oh, hey, look at all these beautiful clothes.
Suddenly, whoosh, a ball of screwed-up paper flew past Olive. Olive poked her head around one of the rails of clothes and saw a pink poodle sat at a desk, scribbling furiously.
No. I just can't get this design right.
Cried the pooch. She screwed up another piece of paper and threw it.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Olive. What are you trying to design?
I'm Dogatella, famous fashion designer, darling. Tonight is the biggest catwalk show in Paris Fashion Week, and I'm meant to be showing off my amazing new designer dress.
So what's stopping you?
I've completely run out of ideas. I don't suppose you could help me, darling.
Well, I'm no fashion designer, but maybe I can help.
Olive looked around and saw balls of screwed-up paper
Ooh.
everywhere.
What are all these screwed-up balls of paper, Dogatella?
Those are some of my rejected fashion designs. No good.
Lots of fashion designs. Lots of clothes. I think I may have an idea.
Olive collected all the screwed-up fashion designs and selected the best bits from each one. Then she took Dogatella's scissors and cut out all her favourite pieces.
If I use all the best bits from each design, we should end up with an amazing designer dress.
That just might work, darling.
Dogatella helped Olive stick all the bits together. And when they'd finished, they set about making the dress using various pieces of clothing from the rails. Dogatella cut and stitched them all together, adding lots of shiny buttons and sparkly sequins.
Finished.
It's certainly an interesting design.
They finished with just enough time for Olive to try the outfit on before the big Paris catwalk show. Dogatella helped Olive put on the dress. But there was one small problem.
Okay, who turned out the lights?
Oh no, I was in such a rush to finish the designer dress. I forgot to make a neck hole.
Olive stumbled around the dressing room, bumping into the rails of clothes.
I can't see.
Clothes kept falling off their hangers onto Olive. She collected 5 jumpers, 3 dresses, 4 pairs of trousers, and even a few pairs of shoes before accidentally stumbling out onto the catwalk. The crowd gasped.
What's going on?
Called Olive as she desperately tried to find a hole to poke her head out. Then there was a loud ripping sound, and Olive's head popped out. The crowd went wild. Dogatella addressed the crowd.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, why put on just the one item from your wardrobe when you can wear everything at once? I present to you the Olive range.
All the people in the crowd started putting on more and more layers of clothes. There was a woman with 8 jumpers, another with 6 hats, and a man with 14 pairs of trousers.
Olive, you've started a whole new fashion trend. You're a fashion sensation, darling.
Well, that's just completely sensational, darling.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Kirk, actually, I've been a designer with Dogatella.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
Olive was outside in a large field. It was a cloudy day, and there was a machine with a huge pipe poking up into the sky. Lots of wires ran into a control box on the side with a big dial on it.
Oh, watch out!
Cried a voice. Olive just had time to duck as an old man flew right over the top of her head. He had a backpack with a spinning propeller and was carrying a remote control and a strange-looking object.
Oh, are you okay? I'm Olive.
Yes, I think so.
Said the old man.
I'm Dr. Cleverbrain, famous inventor, and this is my weather machine. I've just been trying to mend it.
A weather machine? What does it do?
It controls the weather. It makes clouds, rain, snow, thunder, lightning, wind, and it can even suck up the clouds too. But this special multispectral Ujikali Herbal Madrometer has fallen off the top, and the machine won't work without it.
Oh, well, can you fix the, multi-spectral thingamy?
I've been trying to fly up there using my helipack, but can't work the helipack remote control and hold the multispectral Ujikali Herbal Madrometer at the same time.
A helipack? A remote control? I think I may have an idea. Maybe I could control your helipack using the remote control, so you can replace the multi-herpally thingamy thing.
Great idea, Olive.
Dr. Cleverbrain gave Olive the remote control. She started to move the sticks and jerkily guided Dr. Cleverbrain up to the top of the pipe. Olive was concentrating hard. This wasn't easy at all.
Just a little bit closer, Olive.
But Olive was so focused on controlling the helipack, she didn't notice she'd bumped the control dial on the weather machine. The dial on the machine turned to wind.
No!
Olive spun around trying to control the helipack as she watched Dr. Cleverbrain, but got tangled up in the wires, so she couldn't see what she was doing.
Who turned out the lights?
The weather machine made lots of rain.
Oh, nine.
Then suddenly, it made a thunderstorm. Then a snowstorm. And finally, it sucked up all the clouds in the sky, along with poor old Dr. Cleverbrain. Then there was a bang and a clatter, and Dr. Cleverbrain came flying out of the doors at the bottom of the machine. He helped untangle Olive.
Oh, what happened?
We fixed the machine, Olive, just like new.
Olive looked up and saw all the weather shooting out from the machine into the sky. In one place, it was snowing. In another, it was raining. And in another place, there was a thunderstorm. And right above Olive was bright sunshine, making a beautiful rainbow.
Looks like it'll be hard to forecast the weather today.
Chuckled Olive. They both laughed. And as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay. Actually, I've been using a weather machine to make weather.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
It was very dark, except for one light that was pointing straight at her.
Oh, Gurk, I'm in the spotlight.
Exclaimed Olive. She was on stage in a huge theatre. She was wearing a frilly collar and very, very pointy shoes. She could hear someone crying and headed off to investigate. Backstage was dark. She couldn't see anyone anywhere. She noticed the sobbing was coming from under a large fairy cushion in the corner. Olive tried to lift up the cushion, but the cushion moved and cried, "Ouch!" The cushion stood up, and Olive saw that it had arms and legs. It wasn't a cushion at all. It was actually a big brown bear.
Oh, sorry.
Said Olive.
Don't worry, happens all the time. I'm Sir Derek Jackabear.
I'm Olive. Pleased to meet you. But why are you crying?
It's the opening night of the play. The actress I'm performing with hasn't arrived. I'm scared I'll forget my lines.
Oh, dear. Well, I could be the actress. But I don't know the lines either.
This is a disaster. What are we going to do, lovey?
Olive saw that there was a big book sitting on a table next to a bottle of glue.
Is that the play we're performing in?
That's the one. 11th Night by William Shakespeare.
And what do you use the glue for?
I use it to stick this false beard on for the play.
A script. Some glue? I think I may have an idea.
With Sir Derek's help, Olive tore out all the pages from the script and stuck them everywhere. On the curtains, on the props, even on the stage itself.
Oh, I see. Now we don't have to remember our lines. We can just read them. Bravo, lovey.
As Derek stuck on his false beard, Olive put on the final piece of her costume, a huge feathery hat. Derek gave her one last piece of advice.
Break a leg, lovey.
Olive looked confused.
It's what we say in the theatre. It means good luck.
And with that, the curtain went up and the play began. Olive and Derek moved around the stage, reading the lines and acting out the play. Everything was going brilliantly until one of the big feathers on Olive's hat fell in front of her eyes. She couldn't see where she was going. One of her long shoes caught on a page that she had glued to the stage. Olive fell off the stage and into the audience. But the audience caught Olive and lifted her up high above their heads. She crowd surfed all the way around the theatre before eventually landing back on the stage. And with that, the play was over. The audience went wild, clapping and cheering.
This play is a huge success.
Boomed Sir Derek.
I have my beautiful leading lady to thank for that.
He leaned over and gave Olive a kiss on her beak.
Mwah.
Oh, I say. I didn't break a leg, but but I've got a few bruises from falling off the stage.
They both laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Actually, I've been performing in a spectacular play.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
Olive found herself on a stage with lots of animals playing musical instruments. She was wearing a long black jacket with tails. At the front of the musicians, Olive could see a man waving his arms all over the place.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Olive turned and saw an octopus playing a xylophone. She seemed to be getting her 8 legs in a terrible tangle.
I'm Olive. Is everything okay?
I'm Jenny. Oh, the conductor's going way too fast today. Oh!
Is the conductor the man waving his arms around over there?
That's him.
Said a little mouse, frantically banging on a big bass drum next to Jenny.
I'm Barry, and I can't keep up either.
Olive watched the conductor. His arms were almost a blur.
Where is the triangle that goes ting?
Quick, the triangle. You have to play it. Jenny's too tangled up.
Okay. How does it work?
Just hit it with a little stick.
The conductor pointed at Olive, and she hit the triangle. But then he went even faster until she couldn't keep up either.
What happened to the big round thing that goes crash?
He means those cymbals. Can you play them too? Just pick them up by the straps and crash them together.
Like this?
Not now, when I point at you.
The orchestra kept playing, and the conductor kept conducting even faster.
Triangle, cymbals, triangle, cymbals.
Shouted the conductor at Olive. She had to run back and forth, switching between the 2 instruments as fast as she could. Finally, the piece was finished. The orchestra and Olive collapsed exhausted. But now the audience were coming in and finding their seats. That was only a rehearsal. They still had to play the piece all over again.
This is a nightmare. My orchestra is exhausted. What are we going to do?
But why is he still waving his arms?
There was definitely something funny going on. So she decided to go and talk to the conductor.
Excuse me, I'm Olive. Could you please slow down a bit?
Slow down. No, I cannot do this because of the problem I am having with this pesky fly.
The conductor swatted at a fly buzzing round his head, and Olive realised that was why he'd been waving his arms so fast.
I can't get rid of it.
A pesky fly, some cymbals. I think I may have an idea.
Olive grabbed the cymbals and set off, chasing the fly through the orchestra, over the cellos, round the tubas, in between the violins and under the piano.
Come here, fly!
The fly was pretty fast, but Olive didn't give up.
Brigade!
Then there was silence. Olive held the cymbals tightly together and listened. She could hear the fly buzzing around inside. The audience and orchestra all clapped loudly.
That was the first ever performance of the Fly and Cymbal Concerto by Olive the Ostrich.
The fly finally buzzed off, right out of the concert hall. Barry and Jenny ran over to Olive.
Well done, Olive. You've got a real knack with those cymbals.
Yes, that was amazing. It would be great if you could join our orchestra.
Thanks for the offer, but I really must fly.
They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Greg, actually, I caught a fly and played in an orchestra.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
It was a big room with red carpet, lots of pictures on the walls, and a funny-shaped object with 3 metal legs on display.
Oh, hey, this all looks very posh.
Said Olive. She was in the foyer of a cinema. Olive went up close to look at the funny-shaped object on its metal legs.
This is a film camera.
Said a man as he walked into the foyer. He was wearing a gleaming white suit with black buttons.
Oh, hello, I'm Olive. You look very smart.
Nice to meet you, Olive. My name is Steve Battenberg. I am the cinema manager. And tonight is the big film premiere of our new blockbuster movie, A Winter Wonderland.
Oh, great! I love a good blockbuster.
So do I. But I lost the last scene of the movie, and I still need to make all the popcorn. Everyone will be arriving soon. What am I gonna do?
Well, why don't I help you?
Great idea, Olive. Hey, maybe you could make the popcorn for me.
So Mr. Battenberg showed Olive how to make the popcorn. You had to put corn into the machine and turn it on.
Well, I should be okay with that. I'll just put the popcorn in here.
But she put the entire bag of corn into the popcorn machine in one go.
You can never make too much popcorn. Well, I think we're all sorted.
But what should we do about the last scene of the movie? Without it, the audience won't know how the film ends.
What happens in it, Mr. Battenberg?
It's a beautiful winter's day. The snow is falling from the sky, and the snowman winks to the camera and smiles.
Olive looked around the foyer and spied the film camera.
A film camera? Your white suit with black buttons? I think I may have an idea. Mr. Battenberg, does the film camera work?
Yes, I believe it does. To record, you just press the button with the red circle on it.
And action!
So Olive and Mr. Battenberg began filming. But something wasn't quite right.
Oh dear, we still don't have any snow.
Suddenly, the popcorn machine started rumbling. Pop, pop, pop! All the popcorn came flying out of the machine into the air.
Oh, no,
said Mr. Battenberg.
I think you put too much corn in, Olive.
Don't worry, it's just what we need. On camera, it looks exactly like snow.
So Mr. Battenberg winked and smiled to the camera and looked just like a snowman on a beautiful snowy winter's day.
Oh, Olive, what a great idea. But what about all the popcorn? How are we going to serve it to the customers now?
But the customers loved the idea of snowing popcorn and simply caught it in their popcorn buckets. They were all very excited as the film was about to start.
The film is better than the real thing,
whispered Mr. Battenberg.
And all down to Olive, the director.
That really was a great film,
said Olive.
Although I had a pretty good idea of how it was going to end.
They both laughed. And as they did,
right.
Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Heck, actually, I've been a film director.
Your head's been in the sun too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.
Olive the Ostrich!
Olive was standing in a park surrounded by tall buildings with lots of windows. Nearby, there were some kids riding about on BMX bikes.
Oh, these buildings look very tall.
She was wearing a blue hooded tracksuit and shiny silver trainers.
Yo, nice hoodie,
said a voice. Olive turned around and saw two boys. They wore blue tracksuits and silver trainers, like hers.
Yo, hello, I'm Olive.
Yo, Olive, I'm Ash. This is Sam. We're two of the super fast feet crew, the flyest dance crew around.
Oh, what sort of dancing do you do?
Street dancing, and we're competing in a big competition today.
Problem is, our flipper Darren is stuck in a traffic jam. Without him, we can't do our routine, so if he doesn't make it in time, we can't enter.
What does a flipper do?
We'll show you.
Sam pulled out his phone and hit a button to play a video. It was the super fast feet crew performing a routine.
That's Darren in the middle. He's about to flip. Hey, oh, hey, ha! Hey!
Yo, Olive, you're wearing a hoodie and trainers just like ours. Maybe you could be our flipper for the competition.
Well, I'd be happy to try, but flipping looks really difficult.
It's not easy. You need to be able to jump really high.
Olive looked around and noticed that the kids with their BMX bikes were doing some impressive tricks and jumps. But one boy had a puncture and was pumping up his tyre.
A bicycle pump. Trainers. I think I may have an idea.
Olive walked over to talk to the boys.
Excuse me, can I borrow your bike pump, please?
Yeah, sure.
Olive stuck the end of the bicycle pump into the sole of her silver trainer and began to pump. The shoe started to inflate. She did the same to the other one until she had created a pair of super bouncy super trainers.
Ooh, okay. I'm very tall.
Try a flip.
Suggested Ash. Olive started to bounce higher and higher, and then she did a double backflip.
That was tight.
It certainly was.
Let's go, Olive. The competition starts soon.
Darren was still stuck in traffic, so Olive performed with the super fast feet crew. The routine was going really well, and Olive did some amazing flips, bouncing on her super trainers. Soon, it was time for the big finish, a quadruple backflip from Olive. She bounced higher and higher and then straight into the flip. But Olive had flipped too high. She lost control and couldn't stop flipping. Just then, Darren arrived. He rushed into the arena and saw Olive somersaulting through space. Darren ran over, did a massive forward flip and caught Olive mid-air. They both landed back on the ground between Ash and Sam, and the audience went wild.
Yo, Olive, that was amazing.
Olive's final flip was so spectacular, it helped the super fast feet crew to win first prize.
Yo, thanks for standing in for me, Olive.
Said Darren.
Yo, it was no problem.
Said Olive.
I was one super flying ostrich.
They all laughed, and as they did, Olive realised it was time to go.
Typical Olive, daydreaming again.
Said her mum.
Okay, actually, I've been dancing and flipping with a street dance crew.
Your head's been in the sand too long, dear.
Said Olive's dad. Her little brother laughed. But Olive wasn't listening. She was already dreaming of her next big adventure.